All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Azul coaching video. Today we have Carbonate, who is an expert level player, and we're going to do the same thing we did last time, which is just play through a game and um, talk through it as we go. So, um, yeah, Nate's up first and talk about this position. Let me know what you're thinking here.
Yeah, so first thought is maybe grabbing two white for the row three. A lot of yellow as well, so potentially grabbing two yellow. Um, for one more, it's a pretty nice setup to do like almost guarantee row two and three yellow. But I'd probably just go with white here, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the play I would make as well. Uh, the yellows are fine, but you're not really like building towards a column with them, and there's so much black and red as well that building the second column I think makes sense.
You want to go ahead and do that?
Yep, let's go for it. Yeah, so the last video I did coaching, um, I tried to make moves that were kind of tailored to that player's level or slightly above it. I think given your rating range, which I think has been between like 500 and 600, um, I will basically play as if I were playing a normal game. So this is an interesting spot. I'm looking at the group of two reds and the group of two blacks to just kind of immediately contest what you're doing in column two. Um, and I think I like taking blacks here. So let's do that. I'll play some blacks on row five. I could try to contest you on column two.
Yeah, there are a lot of reds.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go for this black on five play. Let's see how this plays.
Yeah, so I think my choices here would be two red for the column or two gold for first player.
Yeah.
I think I'm inclined to take first player here. I don't know what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I would do as well. Um, the other thing with taking the two reds is that it gives me those three yellows, which like there's still a chance that I can finish out a row three, but that would just be like handing it to me. So you
Yeah.
also, it's nice to get your row two out of the way, so that you don't end up in a situation where you have to spend like red resources on it. Um, and who knows if those blues will end up grouped. So, okay. Um, yeah, and I think for me, I'm going to continue to play a bit defensively here and just take some reds for two.
Yeah, so I think probably I want to take one white from the two yellow pool. Although that group's three yellows. If I take one white from the black, um, that group's two blacks. So maybe there's no need to rush into anything just yet. Um, and maybe I'll just take a red for row one.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's the right idea to not rush into a white here. Um, but I think taking a yellow for row 1, the single yellow might be better than the red. It leaves you with more opportunity to get red on row 5, and it prevents me from being able to finish a row 3, or at least like a realistic row 3. Obviously, there's 3 reds left, but you're going to be going for those on row 5, so I'm not going to get that one. But for example, let's say you take the red from the center. I could take the white from the bottom right factory, which would group the yellows together, and then you would have to take that last white, and I could get those 3 yellows, or actually the 3 reds. So this is actually, now that I look at this, now that I look at this, taking 1 white's not terrible here, because if you don't take a white and then I do take a white, you're in a tough position where if you take the white, it groups the 3 reds, and I can take those. And if you don't take the white, then obviously I can take the last white, and then you have your row 3 incomplete. So I think taking the white might actually be correct the more we look at it, just so you're not forced into a situation where you have to choose between white and red. Does that make sense?
You think take the white with the black?
Yeah, I think you're going to end up giving me a row 3 regardless. But I think it's the lesser of 2 evils here. You're going to get a row 3 that's aligned with the column that you want, and I'm going to get one that's either most likely the yellows. So it's not particularly strong. I mean, it's good for me, but it's not aligned with my column. So
yeah. All right, I can go ahead and do that.
I think if you feel strongly about a different play, then make the play you feel strongly about. But yeah, this way you get a nice, like, you're gonna get either the reds or the blacks.
Right.
You've already finished your row 3, and yeah, I have some interesting decisions to make here. Okay, so I think what makes the most sense I want the 3 yellow, so I'd like to group those. I can just try to limit your progress on reds and blacks, but you'll do well.
Yeah, it kind of jumped out to me like the strongest move. I almost want to take the yellows on row 1 now and take either the red or the black.
Yeah, I don't dislike that. You just reduce my scoring. Yeah.
And I guess I could get the red and the black, but probably if I take the yellows on row 1. Although, okay, so I have 5 left. So actually, I think I do want to take the red and the black if it's available for me.
Yeah, I think you can assume you won't get both of them. Though, okay, if you were to pick one here, which one would you take?
I would take the black because I don't think the red's especially useful for you.
Yeah, correct. Sounds good.
And yeah, I would expect you to take the 3 yellows, but
yeah, I think taking the 3 yellows It's kind of an interesting choice for me, actually. Um, I don't know what is correct here for me, to be honest. It's interesting to just like take the reds and then the blues.
Mm.
Um, I think the yellows are pretty strong, and you're not like you're gonna finish the reds. So okay, let's go with this.
Yeah, the thing I don't like is that I'm stuck with a white, and now I have to try and work. You know.
I'm gonna take the white.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention there, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm on the center column,
Okay.
despite my upper rows.
Yeah, you were just talking about taking the blues, so I just had in my mind that you were still going to do that, even though you'd just taken the yellows.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was an alternate
Yeah. Yep.
path where I didn't take the yellows. Yeah. Okay, this is kind of an interesting draw.
So lots of blues. Probably can get row 3 and row 2 red if I wanted to. We're both competing for black, obviously. I think I'd probably try and finish out black first of all, and row 2 blue is my second priority. Maybe settle for the yellows if I needed to on row 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just take the blacks.
Yeah, I think black is pretty clearly the.
It does give you a nice first player. Not
Yeah,
super.
it's interesting as to whether I want to take it or not. Um, this is not a particularly strong draw for me, given the whites and the blacks. Um, so I'm a little bit inclined to try to make your life harder at the expense of my own board, since I can't really build my board anyway, at least not very well. Um, but I do need row 3 blue, so
Yeah, I always thought that looked pretty appealing.
yeah. Hmm. Okay. This.
So I can guarantee a row 3 blue. Not a lot of options for row 2 if I do. But, I mean,
Right.
I don't know. You group group 3 of the reds together, and then you could just toss them, which would be tough. I guess the blacks would be available if you did that. That wouldn't be terrible. So I think I kind of like that.
What you're thinking of taking the single blue?
Yeah, I guess. I hadn't really figured which one I would
Oh,
take
okay.
yet,
Got
but
it. Got it.
um, I mean, I think the single makes sense. It's one less negative for me and one more for you. I think I've heard you say you don't love the single play before.
I mean, it obviously depends on the situation, but um, it's like slightly more in a world where you decide that you actually don't want to finish row 3 blue. In this round for whatever reason, maybe I do something that makes you reevaluate.
Mm-hmm.
Then, um,
I think I'm pretty committed to it.
then you only have one tile instead of two. Um, so that's why like taking two is slightly better. Just in the case that you bail on it, you've got a little more progress made. But um, if you're fully committed, then of course taking one works. Um, I think that playing on row 3 blue is maybe a tad aggressive. Um, just in that if we go blue, 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 as you've noted, the reds all get grouped. Um, and not all the reds, but 3 reds get grouped, um, which is kind of a good thing for you. But if I were to just take the 2 black from the center, then you'd be looking at having to choose between your reds on row 2 and on row 3 and on row 5. Um, because you wouldn't have the black option on row 2.
Right.
Meanwhile, I could potentially play the 3 yellows on row 2. You could, of course, play those on row 1 at some point and block me. But the other reason, so I think you end up in a slightly sticky situation there potentially. And then the other thing is that row 2 blue is quite nice for you, because you get extra vertical adjacency for your row 4 black, and you also potentially get vertical adjacency for your row 5 red, which could also complete this round. And it just kind of takes the pressure off of your row 2. And then, as you noted, there's opportunities for you to potentially play 3 yellow on row 3. So you can still make some good like board development, even with the row 2 blue. And I think I think, we can try the row 3 blue route, and see how it plays out. But I think you can play this a little more simply. And I think additionally, because my board is so underdeveloped, like I'm still going to be stuck on row 4 and row 5 in the next round. You're going to be able to like do whatever you want next round. Probably pick up the row 3 blue then. So I think you're in a good position to just build really strongly, and you don't need to be like hunting for those extra row 3 points.
Gotcha. Do you think row 2 red, or I'm sorry, take the 2 red for row 5, and then just grab 2 blues when they become available? Makes sense.
Yeah. So
I mean, you're probably not going to rush into red, but
yeah, I think
who knows?
I think you can take the reds pretty safely. And
in worst cases, you group the 4 blues together. But I mean, that would be
it's pretty that's
good for me.
detrimental to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you can take the reds, with the plan of grabbing the blues later.
Yeah, that seems to make sense.
I have a somewhat interesting decision here. Generally fine for me to take 1 blue, but let's see. Yeah, I think taking 1 blue is fine for me.
So, yeah, I think 1 yellow or 2 blue here, or maybe even 3 yellow to try and prevent you from getting I mean, you could always go 2 blue on row 2,
Yeah,
which is less ideal. Obviously, the 3 yellow.
yeah.
Well,
3 yellow is definitely interesting. 1 yellow is also interesting. Obviously, it is the best row 1 for you. Um, it gives me the opportunity to group the blues up and create some maybe challenges for your row 2. But it also creates some challenges for my row 2 because I'm running out of options here. So I don't know that grouping the blues is super viable for me. Uh,
yeah, I think there's a path where I get black, red, yellow. If I didn't get the blues, although I might
right.
still just want to take the blues on row 2.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point, especially given that they're one of my row 2 options.
Yeah.
I do think I'm looking at the 3 yellow path a bit. Um, it's kind of interesting. I mean, it puts me in a bit of a pickle, right? Because like, what does I guess I just take 2 blue there, and it's pretty okay. It's a good way to knock me off of an adjacent row 2, though. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you kind of know at this point you're not going to get row 3 blue. Um, and grouping the reds isn't all that bad. You will have to overpay for your row 5, but honestly, even if you don't finish your row 5 this round, it's not the end of the world. So
Yeah.
the 3 yellow is actually pretty sneaky. You just have to be aware of what you'll end up with. And it might be actually pretty safe just given how much flexibility you have on your board.
Yeah, the 4 blue would be my biggest concern, but I think with you needing a row 2, it's probably not going
Yeah.
to be that bad.
Yeah, I don't know that I can feasibly play make group the 4 blue up. Um, it puts me in a pretty bad situation, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll grab the 3 yellow. Sorry if you can hear my dog shaking her collar in the background.
No, can't hear anything. Yeah, and this is pretty tough for me. I think what I actually end up doing here is just taking 1 yellow. Uh, and creating a little bit of tension for you. Like if I take 2 blue, you can pretty freely just take yellow, so group the 4 blue by taking a black. Let's end up taking them.
Yeah,
Okay, let's try the
that's
1
either that or
yellow.
miss out on row 2 at that point, right?
Yeah. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, so I think I take the black, and I'm okay with blue or red on row 2, even if I have to overpay a little bit. I think it would be unexpected not to complete row 2, but
No,
I
yeah,
guess we'll
you're
see how this goes.
at this point you're pretty much you can know how this plays out. I don't really have an option here. I take the blues, take the red, and I take black here. There's fewer of them left. Even though I want to finish whites. Okay. So, yeah, in retrospect, like, I mean, you have a nice scoring round regardless. Um, I'm wondering if taking blues sooner for row 2 may have been better, and you know, you assume you get some reds for row 5, but I think like your given the situation in round 1 and round 2, like your biggest risk of losing this game is getting stuck on reds, and the fact that you got them in row 2 is very good for this situation because you really only need 2 left for the rest of the game, right? So I think it was still fairly strong. You didn't finish the row 5 reds, but getting them on row 2 is still contributing to the overall pool of reds that you need. So here I instantly regret not taking the white instead of the black. Particularly have an option.
Yeah, this is an interesting choice. I mean, obviously my row 2 blue is very important. Could guarantee a row 3 blue and fill that gap. Taking the 1 white just to do it. I don't know. Probably row 2 blue is what I would go with.
Yeah, I think you're in a situation where just about everything is winning. But I would probably lean towards the white just because the odds of me taking being able to stop you from getting blues is low. And as you noted, you can play the blues on row 3 if I were to create a group of 3 of them. And there's enough black that you'll have a nice row 2 option still.
Yeah.
So I think the white is the strong play here. There's like, it just puts me in such a hole that.
Yeah, I like only giving you 1 point for black.
Right.
Good. All right, I'll do that.
Yeah, and so for me, I want to group these blues up to make you potentially overpay on row 2, play on row 3 instead, but I have some other options after that, so I'll finish out black. Okay, so got some interesting options. Obviously, you can take the blue. If you're looking strictly at my board, what are some?
Yeah, those 2 yellows are super strong.
Yeah, what are some ideas that come to mind in terms of like what you could do based on my board?
I mean, potentially try to group the yellows, but I think I'd rather take first player than have you pay 1 extra for a yellow. I mean, there's 4 blues, so potential for negatives or for reds, but I mean, I want those all, and you can play the reds on row 3, so I don't think there's a good opportunity to try and give you any negatives here beyond a couple.
Yeah, and I don't think you really need to. Yeah, red's an interesting color to talk about actually. Like, how highly would you rate or need to finish row 5 in this round?
I'm pretty okay having, one. I mean, no concerns about having one unfinished row. 2, I start getting a little bit worried about negatives. There are a lot of whites left, which I can play on row 4, so that's not bad. And I need them for row 2.
Yeah, I think you can be very okay with even having all 4 of these reds get grouped up if that were to happen, especially depending on what ends up happening with your row 2 play. Like if you end up with row 2 black and then row 3 red, that's actually very strong. And if you end up with row 4 red, that's no big deal. You still only need 2 reds for the remainder of the game, and there's 7 left. So I think finishing out row 5 is not a huge priority for you, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I play the blues on row 2 because white's off the table. You could block me on black easily enough.
I mean, I can block you on black. I don't know that it's particularly easy. I have 1 black on row 1, which is a good play, but I need to also be prioritizing picking up yellows. So yeah, I mean, I don't dislike row 2 blue, but I think row 3 is still an option. But it makes things slightly stickier for you. You have to be a little more on top of it with the blacks, but
yeah, 4 yellows. If it was my move for 4 yellows, would be good enough. I could just play them. If you stop me from getting a row 2 and paid 4 yellows for your row 2, that'd be a bad outcome for me, I feel like.
Yeah, I think you can actually be quite confident that you'd pick up row 2 black. Because if you take 3 blue, I don't know that I have really a play other than 2 yellow.
Yeah, I guess if I dumped the yellow, you'd be in trouble.
Yeah, and then if you take a black there, you don't have to worry about anything else getting grouped up because you can play reds or yellows. I mean, there would be two yellows left. Maybe you don't really want to play those, but you're not in any big risk. So I think row 3 blue is pretty safe, actually.
Okay.
But up to you if you want to play that or row 2. I may not be thinking of my own play enough.
Yeah. I mean, the 2 yellow is super important, obviously.
Yeah. And other than take 2 yellow. I think it doesn't really work out well for me if I don't take 2 yellow here.
So I just start working on black, I think.
Yeah, is there any reason to take from factory or not?
Oh, I guess grouping the 2 reds together is potentially a decent move if I'm trying to make you pay more for.
Yeah, it makes it harder for me to get row 3 red.
But I'd rather just have you get 3 red and me get
finish your row
finish
5.
my row 5,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think taking from the center leaves you some flexibility, but you can almost guarantee that I'm going to take a black,
Mm-hmm.
and so the 4 reds are going to get grouped anyway.
Uh,
Um, so maybe yeah, I guess in that sense it doesn't matter if we're just going to go black black black. Everything's going to end up in the middle anyway.
yeah. I mean, I guess there's a world where you take a blue. If it, I don't see why, but
Yeah, I think I force the blacks and then I take the reds on row 3.
yeah. All right. And I wasn't considering the tile situation, but leaving you with 3 is nice,
Yeah,
obviously. So the blue is potentially valuable, but I don't like the idea of, and I need 2 more still for row 2.
yeah. I think you don't want to create conflict between um your row 4 and your row 2, and then as you noted, there's 12 white left. So being able to play on row 4 white is really strong for you, especially since you have that row 3 blue now. I'm not too far behind, actually. I thought I'd be further
Yeah, I know. I
back.
was looking at the score. But I had a good jump on things. So 1 red. That's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for sure.
Um, and I think 2 blue is probably my highest priority. And then followed by a red. I don't think I want to prioritize trying to get 4 whites on row 4, although it would be better than giving you 3 whites. Because there's enough black that you can get probably your 2 black,
Yeah,
unless I can group up 3 somehow.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
I
think just
think
taking care of row 2 is what I would do. Although there's a lot of blue. I mean, it's probably fine.
yeah, it's probably fine not to. And additionally, I I don't have a good like I don't really have anywhere to play blue. There's only one left. I'm not gonna play on row 5 or anything. Um, and I think not taking a red, it's not terrible. There's 6 left. Like you're gonna be fine. Um, but it creates some potential conflict for your row 1. Um,
Yeah.
because these yellows could end up grouped in a world where we're fighting for blues. Um, so like if you were to, let's say you took the 2 blue, um, if I took 1 blue from the pile with the 2 yellows, then all 3 yellows are in the center. And now you have to choose between your row 1 being expensive, the 3 yellows, or your row 1 being the red and leaving your row 5 open.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think given that there's 6 blues out here and you have some conflict between your row 5 and your row 1, I think taking the 1 red is fairly safe. Um, and putting whites in the center is like, I mean, it's a little weird in this round just because we both kind of want them or can use them. So it doesn't like benefit either of us more than the other, but certainly I'm the one who needs them more. So putting whites in the center isn't bad for that reason.
Yeah. I feel like it's easy enough for you to just take whichever ones fall to the center. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think the line of reasoning makes sense.
And
So you
it's,
think just grab a red here and finish that out, and then
yeah, I think,
here a yellow.
yeah, I think grabbing a red makes sense. The other thing is that it's hard for me to put those two blues in the center. Like when you take a red, you're going to put one in the center. So for me, it would be nice to put the other two in, but most likely I'm not taking a black or a yellow here. The black makes some sense. I could play it on row two, but it's not. And maybe that is my best play, to be honest. I'm not. I'm not sure.
Mm.
Um, but it's not like a particularly. It's not particularly easy for me to group these blues up and make you pay extra for them.
Yeah. All right. Every time I see somebody do this in a game, I think like, why are you rushing into finishing out your, whatever row you're working on when there's other good stuff to do?
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
I
I
think
often lose to those people. So
yeah, and this is an interesting situation for me. There's only three blacks left, but if I take from the center, I can get the first player tile. So I can guarantee that I can finish the blacks. I'm going to do that. I'm playing, excuse me, on row two here. Does row four make any more sense? There's 6 whites left. Yeah, probably finishing 4 is better. Okay, so why is this is like a theory question, I guess. So there's 3 blacks left and there's 6 whites left. So you'd kind of think like it's better for me to take blacks on row 2 this round because there's fewer of them left and I'm going to be able to get whites next round since there's so many left. But
yeah, then
what's
you got
what is a
potentially
reason?
row.
Go ahead.
You're trying to fill whites on multiple rows, potentially 3 of them here. Um,
Yeah. So, what is a reason in terms of next round for why it's beneficial for me to play whites on row 2 in this round?
yeah, yeah. Sorry, it'd be nice if you had a white and a black, or you know, you weren't trying to get a white and a white for your top 2 rows.
There's that, and then there's also my. I want to play row 3 white at
Yeah.
some point, and it's probably not going to happen this round because I mean it could, I suppose, but like you have row 4 white open, so if those ever get grouped up, most likely you're going to be able to play them.
Mm.
So although it seems counterintuitive a bit because white is abundant next round, I should be able to fill my top 2 rows and black isn't. If I have the first player tile, I can guarantee myself that I can get 2 of the 3 remaining blacks. Might not be ideal, but I can at least guarantee it. And you won't have really a place to play blacks next round, most likely. So being able to play row 3 white next round is very strong. And if I don't put whites in row 2 this round, and I don't end up with a white in row 1, which is very possible because I need row 4 white also, next round it's going to be less likely that I can play on row 3, especially because you're going to want row 2 white. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, playing white, getting whites on row 2 is actually somewhat like counterintuitively strong for me just because it opens up my row 3 for next round. Whether I want to do it right away, I'm slightly uncertain, but I'm just going to lock this in for now.
So I'm looking at 2 blue.
Mm-hmm.
3 black would not be all that strong for you, should it fall to you that way. I don't know that there's. I don't know how to set it up so that I get 3 black, but yeah, I guess you could group the yellows up.
Yeah.
Not super worried about taking -2, obviously.
Yeah, I would almost certainly group the yellows up. Which is, I guess, kind of funny given our conversation around your first turn where I advocated for taking the red to not create that upper row tension, but ultimately, I guess no matter when you took the 2 blues, I was going to be able to group these yellows up. So maybe I don't think the red was like misguided or anything, but I guess this situation was always going to happen.
Yeah. I think given that there's I don't know. I think taking the yellows. Is taking the yellow fine and then taking 4 blue potentially?
Yeah, I think it ends up being the
That
same
might
thing,
be.
right? You end up going 2 over.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah. So I think I'd take the 2 blue.
Yeah, that seems safe. Yeah, now I'm heavily incentivized to group the yellows, leave the whites untouched. Taking a blue here.
So I could take the 2 black and guarantee myself a row 3 black.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, you could dump the 3 yellows or play them on row 5 for a potentially 1 point score. So if I take the black, it's 4 for me and 3 less for you.
Yep.
I think I'd probably take the yellows.
I think the yellows is safest. I have if you think about my play after you take the yellows, it's pretty
I
awkward
guess if you,
actually.
yeah,
I can't really take I mean I could take 2 black, but
and I could
then
just dump 1 and then
yeah, if you
you'd be
dump
grouping the whites together.
right, yeah, so I need to get white at some point.
Mhm.
I think the whites
Okay.
is safest. I'm sorry, the yellows.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then this is tough for me. Um, I can take white, you take 3 blacks, and I can end up dumping blues on you, but it's not terrific. I can take 2 black and throw them away, which is interesting. I take 2 black, you take 2 white, maybe. Take 2 white, take a black, I end up with a bunch of blues. Okay, let's just do what's somewhat obvious here. I'll give you a bunch of points. Um,
Okay. I'll clearly take the black.
yep. Into that, I just it's interesting. Taking white. Blues are okay for you, but there's only one left, and I have the first pick, so I can either have you take a negative black or block your row 4. Let's try this, see what happens.
Okay. I think I would. Um, oh, never mind. Yeah, I would just probably dump the black here. Don't think it makes sense to risk taking big negatives.
Yeah, and additionally, I now have to block my row 5, which is a calculated risk. Okay. And yeah, there's basically no way for this, I don't think. You're just scoring all over the place.
So
Okay, so maybe
you're probably not in a hurry to grab the red. So I think that's probably going to be safe. And I should just take care of my priorities. I'm thinking about row 3 red potentially, or even row 4 red. So I think I would just grab 2 white, probably.
yeah, and you're okay with reds getting grouped.
Yeah. Assuming that single point isn't like a big priority for you. So I'd be trying to figure out how to give you the yellows, I think. Unless I somehow manage the row 3 reds early enough that I'm happy to.
Yeah, so the nice thing that you've done here is like you can score on row 3 or row 4 red. So you're really not worried about them getting grouped.
Yeah, I guess you want the yellows on row 4, so
Yeah.
perhaps giving them to you is not my best.
Yeah. I think the thing like when you're in a round 5 like this, I think what you look for is basically like how can I lose? And given that you have a 4-point lead, the way that you would lose this is if you only scored on 2 rows while I scored on 3 rows. Or if you only scored on 3 rows while I scored on 4 rows. Like, I basically have to score on an additional row to be able to beat you. Um, and that's looking pretty implausible at the moment.
And not having the black groups grouped up is rough.
Yeah, I have to like manufacture the situation with the blacks. Um,
Yeah, so do I take 1 red now?
yeah,
I
so
think so. At least give you the first player token.
right. Taking 1 red here more or less guarantees your victory just based on what we just talked about. Because if you take 1 red, I pretty much have to take the blacks. and then you can take a group of 3 red. So then we're both scoring on 3 rows. Yours are even slightly better than mine, actually. So like you're already have a 4-point lead. Your row 1 is worth more than mine. Your row 2 is worth the same as mine. Your row 3 is worth more than mine. And your bottom 2 rows are open, so there's pretty much no risk of like you getting dumped with negatives. And even if I were to get the yellows, which you most likely can block, that just covers the 4-point lead you already have. And we know I'm taking a negative when I pick up the blacks, so yeah, I think you're home free here.
All right, well, let's do that.
Yeah, now I have to find out if there's any way to possibly. I don't think there is. I think the like one black is a semi-interesting play. You don't have to take 2 black, but
Yeah, I mean at this point, 5 red on row 3.
yeah, you just take reds on row 3. I take blacks, you take yellows. So yeah, nothing is going to. This is probably my biggest shot at winning, maybe. If you were to take the blacks and I took the red.
I'd take a blue and give you 2 white.
Yeah, and then you get the yellows for 4 or for a point. But I don't get anything for the reds. I score 1. I take an extra anyway, so it probably is the most interesting, but we should just play this out how it would play out.
All right. So I would take the 3 red here and try to prevent you from the yellow would be my next priority, I think.
Yeah, and I have to play a yellow to force you to take them.
So I play them on row 4 probably. Anticipate taking.
I think row 5 is slightly better just because it leaves a spot for you to play those 2 reds.
Yeah, you're right. I had done the same. But I had the same thought process, but for some reason, I was thinking play the reds on row 5.
Yeah, because I'm gonna go
you're
blue.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking which was better, the reds or the blacks to be stuck with, and then somehow just flip that. Oops. Okay.
Yep, and now you're.
I toss a black here.
Yep. Both options open on your row 4. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't know that there were many particularly tricky situations for you in this game. I think if I'm reflecting on my own play, I think taking a black on row 5 instead of the white on row 4. I mean, obviously, being a little results oriented, but I got stuck on row 4 pretty badly after that. So
Yeah, that was a tough draw.
yeah. But I think the row 2 situation at least was slightly interesting with the going for row 3 blue. Like I said, I think it puts you into a more like forced situation in a scenario where you have a lot of flexibility. And there was maybe one other scenario that was slightly interesting, but that was, I think, the one we talked about most. So um, I know you don't have a ton of time remaining, right?
You mean for like another game?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably another day would be
Okay.
better.
Um, okay. Well, I hope that this was helpful anyway. Just talking through things, and I think you would have made most of mostly correct plays anyway. But if there's anything, we can definitely do another one. And if there's anything in particular that you feel like is preventing you from reaching the next level, and still talk a bit now with the time remaining, or we can bring it up next time. But yeah, if you have any thoughts, go for it.
Yeah, it's not obvious to me what it is. I mean, I can tell that like I'm not thinking like 2 to 3 moves in advance when I'm
Mm.
on a down streak, whereas when I'm on a hot streak, I feel like things are I can see things a little bit ahead of time. I'm paying attention to those remaining couple clusters and how to dump negatives and not be the one that gets dumped on.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought that your awareness of the like end of round scenarios was pretty good. There weren't any situations where it was like you were going to make a play that ended up getting you stuck with a bunch of negatives, but that also comes with keeping your board clean such that you have the ability to play on row 4 or row 5 if needed to avoid a bunch of negatives, um, which is where something like maybe the row 3 blue play comes into effect. Like I think had you done it, it would have been fine. I don't think you would have ended up in any like a particularly sticky situation, but um, sometimes you make that play and then you don't finish it, and then you have that row 3 open um, for the next round. So, or rather, incomplete for the next round.
yeah, yeah. I mean, clearly it worked out well. Hard to say what would have happened if you could have put me in a bind for maybe choosing between row 2 or row 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
I probably would lean toward just completing the open row and not leaving one
Mm-hmm.
half open at that point.
Yeah, I guess there was a scenario there where maybe I take 2 red and just trash them, and then your row 2 would have been in danger. So,
Cool.
all right.
Yeah, I will definitely let you know if anything comes up. But
Okay, sounds
I
good.
appreciate the walkthrough. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, and good luck in your next games.
Thanks. You too.
All right, see you next time.